Hello, welcome back to Becky Bakes. Today I'm going to make an apple strudel and I'm going to use filo pastry. I'm not actually making the real strudel pastry, it just takes too long. Now for this you're going to need 500 grams of cooking apples that we're going to cook and make into the filling. We'll deal with the filling first. I've done 2 of them, they're not terribly big, and it was 3 of this size of apple. If you've got great big Bramleys, you probably will only need 2. So these need to be peeled, cored and chopped. Remember to use a bridge so that your fingers are safe. Cut down, lay the 2 cut pieces down on the board so they don't wobble off, and then another bridge, and then the way I do it is to go under the bit where the flour was and down, turn it under the stalk, down, pop that out, and then peel off the skin as thinly as you can without cutting yourself. You can use a peeler if you like, but if you're adept at this with a sharp knife, then that's fine. And out of each little piece like that, I'll get 9 chunks. So 2 cuts that way, 2 cuts that way, and into water to stop them going brown, because I did those ahead of time and they are going a little bit, but you can put them straight in your saucepan if you like. I'm just going to get on now and do the other 3/4. There we are, that's my 3 medium cooking apples, peeled, cored and chopped, and I'm going to put the peelings on the compost heap. Now they need to be cooked with 25 grams of butter and a tablespoon of water. So I'm going to take my water from here, and then I'm just going to strain these through a colander and put them back in the saucepan. That's going to need a lid on, and they will be not too pulpy. You want to have some chunks left, so probably about 5 minutes once it's come to the boil. Very little water for Bramleys because they are very juicy apples anyway. So I'll just get those on and they'll need 5 minutes just to stew a little bit. And when that comes to the boil, I'll turn it down to a simmer and start timing my 5 minutes. Now, while the apples are cooking, we need to prepare the other ingredients for the filling. And one of the things we need is white breadcrumbs, because they help to soak up some of the juice. And I'm going to make breadcrumbs in this little gadget here. There's a blade at the bottom and the motor is in the handle, and it whizzes round and chops them up. If you haven't got anything as small as this, you can simply use a food processor. It just means you've got more washing up to do than I have. So you can cut them up into pieces. It's much easier just to rip it, drop it in. You can use the crusts as well. It doesn't have to be fresh, it can be some that you've had in the freezer for a while. And just taking a couple of slices out perhaps. It can be a bread roll, it doesn't really matter, and if you don't have white you can use brown. So the lid goes on. It is noisy. And there we are, we've got breadcrumbs. So they can stay there for now. And the next thing we need is some orange zest. So we're going to use the smaller grater side on this, not slicing, not cheese grating, not nutmeg, this one. And you only want the very, very outside orange. So it's a couple of grates and turn. I'm not left-handed, so I'm actually going to have to do it the other way round, sorry. Not a very nice orange, unfortunately, but I've got some zest. Most of it's still stuck to the inside of the grater, so I've got to be careful to get that out. And that just gives you a hint of an orange flavour. Not overly, but just adds a little depth to the flavour. So that's my orange zest. I've got my breadcrumbs. I'm going to use some cinnamon, and I'm going to put some sugar into the apple and some dried fruit. So when they're cooked, I'll bring the apples over and add all of these ingredients. So here's my apple, very hot, a little bit pulpy, but still some lumps because I think that's nicer. So to that we now need to add, first of all, our breadcrumbs. I'm going to just save a bit just in case, because this is not terribly wet. And that thickens up the mixture. To that I'm also going to add my orange zest. Get as much in as you can because that's quite precious, especially when not much comes off your orange. I'm going to put in a teaspoon of cinnamon, very level teaspoon of cinnamon. If you're using brown bread, this will be quite a brown colour already. And I'm going to put in, depends how sweet you like your apples, I'm just going to put in 1 tablespoon of caster sugar and then perhaps a token quarter. And you can put dried fruit in at this stage if you want to. I have people in my family who don't like dried fruit, so I'm going to put the dried fruit in once the filling is on the pastry, and I'll just pop some at one end. So let's get this mixed in. So we've got apple and breadcrumbs, cinnamon, sugar and orange zest. And it's quite a thick mixture. So I'm not actually going to use those. I think probably it was 1 3/4 slices of bread that I'd got. So the next thing is to deal with the pastry itself. So I'm going to put this to one side and bring it all in front of me. So I've got a large baking tray and it's got greaseproof paper if you have greaseproof, or I've used this silicone lining paper, and I've got my packet of filo. In here there are 7 sheets and I only need 3. It's been out of the fridge for about 20 minutes, half an hour, something like that. If you use it when it's very, very cold, it will crack and it will break. In fact, that's broken already. It's very, very delicate stuff. And you can see it's a little bit longer than the tray. So we take the first sheet, put it onto the tray, and we brush it with butter. Because there is no butter in there at all, it's simply a flour and water paste. Sounds dreadful, but it's very convenient stuff to use. If you make your own filo pastry, you use strong flour and eggs, and you leave it to rise, and then you stretch it with your knuckles over a large table that's got some sort of cloth on it. It's a very long process. Now our second sheet goes on. Doesn't matter if it doesn't quite join up with the other one, and you brush that. There we are. Now the third sheet. So that's my third sheet. The other one I'm going to fold up and put away and use for something else. So the top sheet also gets brushed. You'll see what the bits you've missed on the underneath layer, because you won't get those dark patches. So make sure that the bits where it's pale get a brushing of butter. So that's enough. And now onto this we put our filling. And we need it to be, let's say, 3 or 4 centimetres in from the narrow edges of the tray, and also about 5 centimetres in from the side. So I'm going to lay it down the centre. And the fact it's hot doesn't matter for this. So get it on down the middle. You don't want it to be too wet because it's difficult to handle if it's very wet. So that's my filling, and I now need to add a little handful of fruit, and they're going to go at that end. There we are. Now we fold it up, and we're going to go top down, bottom up, lay the side over, bring the other side over, and then flip the whole thing onto the join so it won't open. And then we take the rest of the butter and we brush that onto the top. Now while it's cooking it may crack, don't worry about that, it just doesn't matter. But coat it well and then it will be nice and brown and shiny when it comes out. And it takes really anywhere between 15 and 20 to 25 minutes at gas mark 4. And I've got the oven on, I forgot to tell you that. And I've actually got the oven on to between 4 and 5 because it makes it crisper. So that's going to go in now for 15 to 20 minutes. Now this has had 19 minutes. There's a little split, I don't mind that at all. And you can see it's a lovely, lovely golden colour. I'm going to leave that for a minute or two, and then to get it off the tray, I've got 2 fish slices and I've got one of these sandwich plates, and amazingly it's just about the right size. Now the best way to do this is to get your plate aligned with the thing that you're moving. So fish slice at each end. And be brave, and then just ease those out. There we are. And when you're ready to serve it, you can dust it with icing sugar, and that will serve quite a lot of people, and it's lovely the next day too. There we are. There's your strudel, and I think you'll find that's quite popular. So good old dusting of icing sugar. Have a go. Like, share, subscribe, and send us a photo. Bye.